This weekend, I made the decision to take a brief escape from my busy family life. I took my kids on a trip far away from the city to immerse ourselves in the Alaskan wilderness. We spent time fishing, hiking, and relaxing with songs around the campfire. My spouse and I often discussed the need to be apart, and I took the initiative to make it happen. Hopefully, she can get some much-needed rest during our absence. The trip to the river took about 9 hours, but here we are. Surrounded by a beautiful forest, various animals, chirping birds, and a seemingly endless river. I instructed the kids to unpack and gather firewood while I myself set up the tent, laid out sleeping bags, prepared fishing gear, and made sure we had plenty of fish bait. As I was laying out the fishing rods, evening crept up on us, and I realized that my kids, ages 7 and 8, were already playing by the fire. "When are we going to eat?" They asked. Hastily rummaging through my backpack, I pulled out sausage, cheese, bread, potatoes, and sandwiches. "Let's cook together," I suggested, handing the potatoes to my daughter. The evening passed quickly, almost without sleep. I fished, and the kids ran around telling spooky stories, trying to scare me. The next day was just as enjoyable. We boated, fished, and made soup. The original plan was to stay until morning, but an unexpected downpour forced us to quickly pack up and head home. The return trip was a long one. The road was almost impossible to see due to the bad weather conditions. "Why don't we stop by Grandma's house?" "She's 10 minutes away," I suggested to the kids. They agreed, and I turned to her house. All our clothes were damp. We were all freezing from the strong wind. The rain continued to pour down like a bucket. Upon entering the house of my mother-in-law, whose name was Barbara, she was terribly frightened as she was not expecting guests. "Grandma, hello. We've come to visit you," shouted the children, hugging her with wet hands. I told my mother-in-law the whole situation that had happened to us. She prepared dry clothes for us, fed us, and put the children to bed. I sat by the fireplace, unable to warm up. Drink quickly, she handed me a glass of whiskey and immediately poured it into my mouth, and I did not even have time to ask what it was. Glass after glass, Barbara tried to rub me to warm me up, but all to no avail, and I was shivering like a hare that had seen a wolf. Barbara pressed her body against mine to transfer the warmth. How sudden! My mind went fuzzy, and I distinctly felt that her hands were not in a comfortable place at all. "Something in the atmosphere got hot," I said, trying to stand up and move away from her. "It's not as hot as it could be yet," she said, pouncing on me, while the kids slept on the second floor after a nice nature walk. My mother-in-law gave me her warmth, lying by the fireplace. She was unstoppable. She was so hungry, like she was 20 years old. So we came to visit to warm up. What's gotten into her? I thought, what demon has possessed her? Probably, it is loneliness. A woman cannot be without a master in the house. My mother-in-law looks very young for her age. I don't understand why she won't find a second husband. The next day, we packed up and drove home. Barbara walked us to the car, kissed us, and smiled very slyly. She told me in my ear that she would be waiting for me to visit her again, preferably alone. Just like that, unexpectedly, my mother-in-law and I now have a sweet secret. As long as no one knows, we will have fun.